Welcome to English Edge Podcasts. We're back for another deep dive. And today, we're going to be looking at something a lot of you have been asking about. Improving English speaking skills.
Oh, yeah. A big one.
It is this one.
It can be kind of daunting for folks.
It can be.
Yeah.
It really can. And there's a lot of information out there. But we found this really cool guide.
Yeah.
I think it's really practical.
Yeah, it had a lot of you can do this today kind of advice, which I really liked.
Yeah, actionable stuff.
Yeah.
So I thought we'd take a look at that and see if we can help kind of break it down.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think one of the things that stuck out to me was this idea of building a strong foundation.
Right.
It's like anything, if you're building a house or you're learning a new skill, you got to have that solid base.
Yeah, you can't skip the basics.
You can't skip the basics.
Right. And the guide specifically mentions vocabulary, grammar, and pronunciation.
Yes, those are the building blocks.
So how do we tackle that?
Well, with vocabulary, it's not just about memorizing a million words.
Right.
It's about understanding how to use them correctly in different situations, right?
Context.
Context, exactly. I always think of words as tools,
Ooh, I like that.
Yeah, the more tools you have in your toolbox,
The better.
the better equipped you are to handle different situations.
Right.
So online dictionaries are fantastic for that. Looking up synonyms, exploring those nuances of meaning.
Yeah, and playing with words,
Yeah.
trying them out, seeing how they sound.
Exactly. And then for grammar, I know a lot of people get intimidated by grammar, but it's really about understanding the structure of the language.
Right.
So you can communicate your ideas clearly.
Right. So it doesn't have to be super strict.
No, it's more about just getting the flow and understanding the basic sentence structure.
Right. The framework.
The framework, yeah. And then there's pronunciation, which can be a big one for people.
Oh, yeah.
Because if you're not pronouncing words correctly, people might not understand you.
Right. And that can be frustrating.
Very frustrating.
For everybody.
Yeah. So the guide mentions Forvo. Have you ever used Forvo?
I have. It's great.
It's so cool.
You can type in any word and hear how native speakers pronounce it.
And there's different accents.
Different accents. Yeah. So you can kind of get a feel for how it's said in different parts of the world.
I think that's so important, too, because
Absolutely.
English is spoken all over the world. And not everybody sounds the same.
Exactly.
And that's okay.
Exactly.
And I think also when you're learning to speak another language, I think if you can nail the pronunciation a little bit, I think that can give you a lot more confidence.
Oh, absolutely. Because you feel more comfortable that people are going to understand you.
Exactly.
And you're not going to have to repeat yourself constantly.
Right. And then you can kind of focus more on what you're actually trying to say.
Exactly.
So we've got our foundation down.
We've got our vocabulary, grammar, pronunciation. We're feeling good.
We're feeling good.
We're ready to get out there and speak, but
yeah.
How do we get that practice?
Well, the guide emphasizes this idea of regular practice. And they say it doesn't have to be formal or intimidating. You can literally talk to yourself.
Okay. I've heard this.
I know it sounds strange.
I always feel a little weird about this one.
I know, but it's surprisingly effective.
Really?
Think about it. When you're talking to yourself, you're not worried about making mistakes. You're not worried about being judged.
Yeah.
You're just focusing on getting the words out.
Okay.
And the more you do that, the more fluent you'll become.
So when I'm doing the dishes, I should be now I am rinsing the plate.
Exactly.
And now I am putting it in the drying rack.
Or you could be I'm so hungry, I can't wait to eat dinner tonight. Whatever comes to mind.
Oh, that's great.
Just get those words flowing.
That's really good advice, I think.
And another technique the guide mentions is shadowing. Have you heard of this one?
I have, but remind me how it goes.
So basically you listen to a native speaker, whether it's from a podcast, a video, whatever you enjoy.
Okay.
And you try to mimic their rhythm and intonation. So you're basically copying how they're speaking.
Oh, so it's not about the words themselves?
Not necessarily. It's more about the music of the language.
That's interesting.
Yeah, so you're internalizing those natural speech patterns.
I like that.
Yeah.
That's really cool.
And it can be really fun, too.
Yeah, and it kind of goes along with that thing we were talking about, engaging with native content.
Exactly.
Like movies, series, podcasts.
Yes, immerse yourself in the language.
Yeah, that's such a fun way to learn.
It is, and you pick up on so much, slang, idioms, all those little nuances.
Stuff that's not in the textbook.
Exactly, the stuff that makes you sound more natural.
Yeah.
More like a native speaker.
What are some of your favorite podcasts to listen to?
Oh, I love listening to, storytelling podcasts.
Oh, yeah.
Like This American Life or...
I love that one.
Yeah. Or like true crime podcasts are really popular too.
Yeah, they are.
Those are always really engaging.
And you can learn a lot of new vocabulary.
Oh, absolutely. Especially like legal terms or forensic terms.
Yeah, exactly.
Great.
I've been really into like history podcasts lately.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, I find it's a good way to like learn about history and also improve my listening skills.
Absolutely. And it's like you said, it's fun. You're learning while you're enjoying yourself.
Exactly. So make it fun.
Yes.
Make it something you want to do.
Exactly.
Okay, so we're watching movies, we're listening to podcasts, we're feeling good.
Okay.
But the guide also talks about like seeking out speaking opportunities.
Yes.
And that can be intimidating.
It can be.
Right.
Especially if you're not used to speaking English in front of other people.
Like where would we even start?
Well, the guide mentions English clubs,
Yep.
which are great because you can meet other people who are also learning English.
So it's not so scary.
Exactly. It's a supportive environment where you can practice without feeling judged.
I like that.
Yeah.
Like a safe space.
A safe space.
Are those usually like in person or?
You can find them both in person and online.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, so there's a lot of flexibility there.
I like that.
And then there's also things like Toastmasters.
Oh, yeah, Toastmasters.
Which is more focused on public speaking.
Right.
So if you need to give presentations in English or you just want to get more comfortable speaking in front of a group, that's a great option.
I think those are great for confidence building, too.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah, even if it's not something that you think you're going to need for work or whatever, just getting up and speaking in front of people.
It's a valuable skill.
Yeah.
No matter what you do.
Okay, so we don't have to jump into the deep end right away.
No.
We can start small.
Start small. Like what?
Well, even just ordering food at a restaurant or asking for directions.
Oh, that's good.
Those are opportunities to practice your speaking skills.
Right. Just little things here and there.
Exactly. And you'd be surprised how much it helps. Yeah, I think that's good advice. And, you know, we live in a time where we have all this technology.
Yes.
So the guide talks about, like, leveraging technology for language learning.
Oh, absolutely. There's so many great apps out there now.
There are.
It's amazing.
Like, what are some of your favorites?
Well, you've got the traditional ones like Duolingo and Babbel.
Yeah.
Those offer structured lessons. They kind of take you through step by step.
Yeah, I've used those.
Yeah, they're good for building a foundation.
Yeah.
And then there's some newer apps that are really cool.
Ooh, like what?
Like Elsa Speak.
Elsa Speak. I've heard of that one.
It's amazing it uses AI to analyze your pronunciation.
What? Yeah.
That's so cool.
And it gives you personalized feedback and exercises.
So it's like a little pronunciation coach.
Exactly.
Right in your pocket.
Right in your pocket. I know, it's amazing. And then you've got apps that simulate conversations.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so you can practice speaking in a low-pressure environment.
I need to check that out.
Yeah, it's really cool.
That sounds fun.
It is fun. Okay, I'm going to have to look those up.
You should.
I've been using Elsa Speak, actually.
Oh, cool. How do you like it?
I really like it.
Yeah.
I'm working on my fellow sounds.
Oh, yeah. Those can be tricky.
They are tricky.
Yeah.
And it's really good at, like, telling me, like, where my tongue should be
Oh, wow.
and how to, like, shape my mouth.
Yeah.
It's really cool.
That's amazing. It's like having a personal coach
It is.
in your pocket.
And it's really helping.
That's great.
Yeah,
Technology can be so helpful.
it really can.
For language learning.
And then another thing that the guide mentioned that I thought was interesting was recording yourself speaking.
Oh, yes. That's a great tip.
It feels so weird.
You know, it can feel awkward,
But
but it's so valuable.
I've done it before, and it does help.
It does, because you can hear yourself
Right.
objectively, and you can identify areas where you need to improve.
Yeah, it's like watching yourself on video.
Exactly. You're like, oh, I didn't realize I did that.
I do that.
Yeah.
I make that face. So it's the same thing for your voice.
Exactly.
And you can compare your recordings to native speakers.
Yes.
See how you measure up.
And focus on things like intonation, pacing, pronunciation, all those little details
Right.
that make a big difference.
Okay, so we're recording ourselves.
We're recording ourselves.
We're practicing. We're talking to ourselves.
We're shadowing.
We're shadowing.
We're immersing ourselves.
We're immersing ourselves.
in the language.
But what if we're still making mistakes?
Oh, that's okay.
Is it
Everybody makes mistakes.
even native speakers?
Even native speakers make mistakes.
I'll make mistakes all the time.
I do too. It's part of the process.
So the guide actually emphasizes fluency over perfection.
Yes.
Right.
It's more important to communicate effectively
Than to be perfect.
than to be grammatically perfect all the time.
Right. Because if you get so caught up in the grammar,
Mm-hmm.
then you can lose the flow.
Exactly. You can get stuck.
Yeah.
And it can actually hinder your fluency.
That's happened to me before.
Oh, I'm sure it's happened to all of us.
Like where I'm trying to think of like the exact right grammatical structure.
Mm-hmm.
And then I just get flustered.
Yeah.
And I like can't talk.
I know it's happened to me too, where I'm like trying to remember like, oh, is it the past perfect or the present perfect continuous?
Yeah.
And then I just completely lose my train of thought.
Yeah, exactly.
But it's better to just let it flow.
So don't be afraid to make mistakes.
Don't be afraid to make mistakes.
And don't be afraid to like, use those little filler phrases.
Yes.
Like,
those are natural.
they are natural.
Everybody uses them.
Even native speakers.
Even native speakers use them.
It's part of language.
It's part of language.
Okay, so fluency over perfection.
Fluency over perfection.
But I think also like one of the key takeaways from the guide is like consistency and patience.
Oh, absolutely.
Right.
This isn't something that happens overnight.
No.
It's a journey.
It's a journey.
Yeah, so you have to be patient with yourself.
And celebrate the small wins. Like when you finally nail that third sound.
Exactly. Or when you can order your coffee without any hesitation.
Oh, that's a good one.
Those are the moments to celebrate.
Right.
Yeah.
So we've covered a lot of ground today.
We have.
We've talked about building a strong foundation with vocabulary, grammar, and pronunciation.
Yes.
We've talked about the importance of practice.
Regular practice
great.
in any way that you can.
Exactly. And we've talked about like embracing technology and not being afraid to make mistakes.
Exactly.
So as we kind of wrap up this deep dive,
Okay.
what's one thing that our listeners can do today to start putting these tips into practice?
Well, I would say download a language learning app.
Okay.
There are so many free ones out there.
There are.
Find one that you enjoy and just commit to using it for 15 minutes a day.
I like that, 15 minutes a day.
Yeah, or find a conversation partner.
Okay.
You know someone who you can practice speaking with, even if it's just for a few minutes.
Great advice.
Yeah.
I think those are both excellent.
Or even just commit to talking to yourself for 5 minutes a day.
Oh, yeah. Why not?
Just get those words flowing.
Just get those words out.
Exactly.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for joining us for another deep dive.
It was my pleasure.
This was a lot of fun.
It was.
And I hope it was helpful for everyone listening.
I hope so too.
And remember, you are capable of achieving your language goals.
You are.
So keep practicing, keep learning, and we'll see you next time.
See you next time.
Bye.
Bye.